Last night I asked who the best city was. I feel like it was that city last night. Voice statement. Don't away. All right, everybody got a seat. If you've already been elected to an office, won't you raise your hand? Let's give yourselves a hand. Honest show of hands of some gentlemen that really wanted to go home, but you stuck it out and you feel like you made the right decision to stay. Raise your hand. Let's give those guys a hand. As I told you guys, some of the best things that will happen to you in your life are things that seem very difficult, and they may be difficult, but if you just push through, the fruit on the other side is much better. Kudos to you guys for hanging there and staying. Make the most of this. We're starting to roll now. As Walker said, if you get to Tuesday, you're pretty much good. Guys are being elected to offices, you're running, you made friends, you're gonna make more friends, and the speakers just continue to get better. We've got some phenomenal gentlemen that are gonna speak to you today. Just some strong men, regardless of the positions that they hold. I know quite a bit about both of them. One of them, Representative Williams and I used to worship at the same church together when our children were younger. Just solid dudes. Make sure that when they come to speak, you give them your undivided attention. As I talk about a lot, try to extract something, even if you don't care for government or you don't care for their party. They're going to tell you something that's going to be life-changing for you. Pay attention, soak it in, be a sponge. Like I said, if you need to have your phone out to take a golden nugget down, you can do that. Otherwise, put your phone up. Heard? Heard. Excellent. All right, let's give our chairman, Colonel Jim Reed, a big round of applause. He's going to come and get on.
Sunday with some great speakers. We just keep edging it up. You are the cream of the crop. These are our premier leaders of our state right here talking to you today. Listen up, take notes. All right, get those nuggets. I want you to take some nuggets today. So let me introduce our speakers that are going to be talking to you today for the next hour or so. Cameron Sexton is the 83rd Speaker of the Tennessee House of Representatives, having been elected to the role on August 23rd, 2019. A native of Crossville, he has represented the 25th House District, comprising Cumberland and Van Buren counties, and the city of Monterey and Putnam County, Tennessee. He's been in this position since 2011. Speaker Sexton is currently serving his 6th term in the legislature. Before becoming Speaker, Speaker Sexton held several leadership positions, including House Majority Whip and Chairman of the House Health Committee. He also served as House Republican Caucus Chairman during the 111th General Assembly, where he played a key role in advancing conservative initiatives. Speaker Sexton holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Tennessee his wife Lacey, residing in Crossville, and their 3 children, Greer, Olivia, and Nathaniel. In addition to his legislative duties, he works in business development and serves on the board of directors for One Bank of Tennessee. Throughout his career, Speaker Sexton has been recognized for his advocacy on behalf of citizens affected by learning disorders and received accolades such as Legislator of the Year for Biotechnology Industry Organization of the Tennessee Chiropractic Association. With Speaker Sexton is my representative here in Cookeville, Representative Ryan Williams is a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives representing District 42, which includes parts of Putnam County. He has served in the legislature since January of 2011, so they've been serving since 2011 together, and currently chairs the House Finance, Ways and Means Appropriations Committee, a key role in shaping the state's budget and fiscal policy. From Kingsport, Tennessee, Representative Williams graduated from Sullivan Central High School in Louisville. He earned his Bachelor of Science in Biology from Carson Newman College, where he was a standout athlete in Division II men's soccer on the men's soccer team. Before his legislative career, Williams served on the Cookeville City Council and as a planning commissioner, demonstrating his commitment to local governance. In addition to his legislative duties, Williams has been recognized for his leadership in healthcare policy. In 2024, he was honored as Hospital Hero by the Tennessee Hospital Association for his dedication to improving hospital and healthcare services in the state. Representative Williams is married, has 2 children, is active in his community throughout various organizations, including the Putnam County Chamber of Commerce and the After Dark series. He continues to play a significant role in shaping Tennessee's fiscal and healthcare policies. Let's give it up to Speaker Sexton and Representative Williams.
Pretty good.
Very good. So I live in Crossville. I know I have 1 or 2 here from Crossville. If you're here from Cumberland County, raise your hand. Good to see you. Good. Yep. All right. Good to have y'all here. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna touch on a couple of different things in the legislature and then a couple of leadership topics for you, real quick. I know you don't have the governor coming at the end of this. He's a great person. You're gonna love him. It's great to work with him. It's great to work with Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams is the sub-finance chair. It's called the Black Hole Committee because that's where bills go to die. And so he's the Dr. Death in the General Assembly, if you want to know his real name. Let me just say, this year, we've had a great year. As the bio said, I've lived in Crossville. I moved there back in 1998. It's the longest place I've ever lived. If you're coming through, has anybody ever come through Crossville in your state? Some of you? Have you ever stopped at Buc-ee's? My question is,
Yes, sir.
Stop by anytime. We love it. Hey, and just for a mental note, can anybody here tell me what Buc-ee's advertises the gas price is? Does anybody know? They don't advertise it. You know why? Because it's a destination, and when you go to a destination, you market it right, you do it right, you build it right, people are going to come. It doesn't matter what the gas price is because they're coming. So I can tell you this, the price is very low, you're not questioning the gas price because you won't get inside and get the Buc-ee nuggets and the other things, right, that you want to get. And the beef jerky, that's right. So this year, I've been in General Assembly for 14 years. It goes by really fast. Kind of like high school does. You're all looking back at high school like, well, that went by fast. College is going to go by faster, and your life is going to go by fast. And so we've been there for about 14 years. We've done a lot of great things for the state of Tennessee. Some people may agree and disagree with other things that we have done, but that's fine. That's open for debate. And everybody can have debate. I think one of the problems we have in our society right now is when you look at politics, one side tries to shut down the other side on topics. You want to try to bully somebody, you want to try to downgrade somebody, you want to try to degrade somebody so that they don't express their opinion. One of the things that you all can do in the next generation as you're all moving up is have open debate. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. There's nothing wrong with argument. There's nothing wrong with sharing ideas. The only way that you can learn about someone else is to have an understanding and talk to them about their life experiences and how it impacted them. Because y'all are from all over the state, and not a single one of you had the same life experience as someone else in this room. So do not automatically assume that you know where that person's coming from and what they believe and why they're saying that. They may say something that you are shocked about. But don't make the assumption that they said it because of what you believe in. Ask them. Have a conversation. Don't be afraid of a conversation with somebody. Talk to them, listen to them, try to understand where they're coming from. That will only enhance the relationship. Life is about relationships. It is what you make of it. If you don't want to build relationships, it's going to be a very lonely life. But build relationships with people. The people in this room, you will come back across again later in life in various instances. So build relationships, get to know everybody in this room, and keep in touch. This is a network that very few in our state have, to be honest with you. Coming to Boise State is a network, and it will allow you to do things in life that you would never imagine by being here and coming in contact with people in this room. Because there's going to be great leaders in this room, great business people in this room, great other individuals in this room who will be very successful in life. Get to know them. So this year in the General Assembly, we passed a couple things. A couple things I worked on with the governor, with Ryan, and with others, is one is about education. Now, y'all are in school right now, right? I'm assuming, right? Doing pretty well?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this. How many of you in this room feel like you're being academically challenged in school?
Depends.
About half, right? About half, maybe a little bit more than half, right? That's about right. And so education in our state should be about challenging you to do the best that you can do. And that's what we should be striving for. And so we've invested a lot of money in K through 12 education. We've tried to put in some testing requirements to make sure that you're progressing and going where you want to go. Does anybody know what the third grade reading proficiency rate in the state of Tennessee is? Anybody want to guess? About 39, yeah, it's going to go up this year a little bit. So, less than, say, 40% of the third graders in our state are proficient in reading. Now, just to put that on a level for you, proficiency does not mean that I can read this right here, right? That's not reading proficiency, that's just reading. Reading proficiency is actually remembering what you read, right? And being able to answer the questions when they ask you. It's also about understanding grammar and sentence structure and vocabulary and spelling, right? That's all proficiency in reading. And so we're trying to do our best to get us up to the levels to be successful. And how we get there. That's why third grade retention bill is very important. If we can't get you to reading proficiency in the third grade, we know that that's the highest point of your academic career. When you get to 8th grade, we're not any higher, we actually go lower. So third grade is the epicenter of success in our state, and our success is less than 40%. So we got to do better. And then what we said to you all, and what we said to the parents in Tennessee this year with Governor Lee, is that you should be in charge of your education. That you should have the opportunity to go to where you want to go. Sometimes it's about academics, sometimes it's not about academics. That's why we passed school choice in our state of Tennessee. Because if the schools are competing for you, then they're having to meet whose needs?
Ours.
Your needs, right? Half of you in this room, looks like they could be meeting your needs academically. Half in this room may not be meeting your needs academically. But whose money is it that the state collects on an annual basis? Your money. And if it's not, and if the K through 12 system is not providing you with what you need for your opportunity to be successful or in meeting your needs, why should you not have the opportunity to take your money and choose another school? Competition improves everything. When public competes with private, when private competes with charter, we all get better. We need to be competing for each one of you. The worst thing you can do, what happens if you have one restaurant in town? And that's the only restaurant you have. It's monopoly. What happens to monopolies? Who do they care about at the end?
Themselves.
Correct. We don't want a monopoly in education. That's the point. We want to have an education system that works for you, that you're in charge of, not vice versa. So that's what we're trying to do in education. The second thing we've tried to do in the state is get tougher on violent criminals. Now, some of y'all may be from West Tennessee, which has a little bit different of an issue with crime than other parts, but we're all impacted by crime. And let me ask you this. When the judge sends you down the sentence, I know there's some judges in here, and they give you 10 years, how long do you think they get if the judge gives you 10 years until 3 years ago? How much do you think you serve? 3? 3? Yeah, 3, 4, 5, right? So if that crime was on you, and that person, you you heard the judge say, I'll give you 10 years, and they get out in 3 and you're in the superstore the next day, or the grocery store, 3 years later, and you see that person, do you feel like you were represented in the judicial system for the crime that they committed to you or your family? No. Especially if it's a violent crime, right? You know what the difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder?
Yes, sir.
They missed it. They missed it. Right? And so we have to be tough on violent crime. We should not have a tolerance for violent crime. I'm sure some of your parents here, there are certain things that you do at your house where you know the justice is swift, right? And there's some things that you do where you're like, I might get away with it. Like breaking curfew may be like, somewhat of a pass sometimes, or the consequence doesn't, you got more joy than the consequence was, so you're okay with taking that, right? To break curfew or come in late. But let me ask you, if you smack your mom, what do you expect from your parents?
Punishment.
You know it's slipped, right? So that second time, are you going to smack your mom? No, right? Well, we hope you don't.
My mom was the one that smacks me. What are you talking about?
But second time you won't. So the judicial system is not like how your parents raised you. And when you do the toughest crime, the most violent crime, and the punishment does not meet the crime, what do you tell the person? If you were smacking your mom and your dad's like, hey, it's okay. You know what? I'll take away your car keys to your car for a day. Or I'm not going to give you your allowance, or I'm going to do this. What happened there that makes you want to stop that severity of an action? Nothing.
Nada.
So in Tennessee 3 years ago, we took on violent crimes and violent criminals. And what we said is we're the first state in America that has truth in sentencing. And what does truth in sentencing mean? Truth in sentencing means that if you get 10 years for carjacking somebody, you're going to serve 100% of that sentence. You don't get good credit. You don't get out early. You serve every single day. And we put that in place for 65 different crimes in our state. That you're going to serve whatever the judge or the jury hands down to you, because those crimes are so violent, we need you to be somewhere else. Right? Just like you would do at your home. Your parents, if I smack my mom, I can tell you what they do to me. I wouldn't want to be there for the next month. But that's what we have to figure out in our state. Are we going to be weak on crime, or are we going to be tough on crime? Because once you're weak on crime, what happens to all the other communities around those places? What happens? Crime starts building up, right? And so when we pass truth and sentencing, guess what happened in our state? Violent crime has what?
Gone down.
Gone down. Because now the consequence matches the action, and people will change their behavior on that. So that's where we're trying to lead our state, to allow public safety in your communities. And so then, those are the two things I'll talk to you about. Ryan's going to talk about some constitutional movements, but let me just talk to you about leadership and about something. And I just want to be real honest with you. Your life is not going to get easier as you get older. If you think your life is going to get easier, we all need to have a reality check. It's going to get tougher. You're out in the real world. You're working. You have family. You have other things. It gets harder. This is the time in your life where it may seem hard, but this is the best time in your life. Now, you're going to get rewarding, and you're going to have joy, you're going to have a lot of things in your life that brings happiness, but it does get tough. And just remember that every day that you wake up, even if you make a mistake today, if you make a mistake today and you do something terrible, and you do this, guess what you have tomorrow? A new day. Right? It's a new canvas. Every day is a blank canvas that you get to paint and determine what you're going to do for that day. Every single day. And you live in a country that allows you the freedom to choose whatever colors you want to paint that canvas. It's not like that everywhere in the world. You have the freedom to do that. But do not try to go back and repaint the previous day's portrait or painting. It never works. Just let it go and think today's a new day. Let me get started. And then the other thing is, with suicide rates and mental health being really high, I'm not going to ask questions about that. But let me just tell you, if you're having issues, there's a world of people you can turn to. You have parents, grandparents, teachers, coaches, all these people. People here at Boise State, they love good coffee. If you feel like you're down and out and there's no hope, there is hope. But if you feel like there's no hope, don't take that next step. Pull back. Find someone that you can talk to. They're around you. But at the end of the day, if you put your faith in God, right? If you put your faith in God, you will not lose hope. You may be dark, it may look bleak, but if you turn to God and pray and ask for help, and ask for to send something, to send someone, your prayer will be answered. So no matter how dark the day is, don't think that your canvas is all black. Don't fall in that trap. You all here have a purpose in life. Every single one of you. You all have a purpose. Otherwise, there is no God. If we're just here randomly for a random act and we're just here to do whatever. Everybody here has purpose. And your job may be to reach that one person, or two, or do something else. But just realize that you have purpose. The second thing I want to talk to you about. All y'all drive, right? Does everybody here drive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever been behind that car on the interstate or on your road, and they're in the left-hand lane, and they're just doing like 55 or 60, and they're singing along, and they're not having a care in the world, and they got all these cars lined up back behind them?
Yes, sir.
We've all experienced that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are they lacking?
Attentiveness.
Look, common sense speaks, it's correct. A lack of awareness, right? A lack of awareness. When you're walking into a store, do you ever look behind you to see if there's a female walking in behind you, or you just trance on through and close the door on them as you walk in?
I'll look behind you.
Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of who's around you. Don't be that driver in that car lane who's just living their own life, singing their tunes, and not paying attention to anybody else. This is a wonderful life. Know that there's people around you. And just as we talk, there's people who can help you. Realize there's people that you can help. There are people who are dependent on your help. And if you see someone, don't be the person who says, oh, I saw them that day, and then something tragic happens, and you were like, man, I should have said something. I knew internally there was something wrong. I knew. But I was afraid to say anything or to ask the question. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what people are feeling. You can see it through facial expressions. You can see it through a lot of different things. But also be that person who can be something for that person. Don't always be about self. Don't always be about self. It's real easy to be about self. And then the last point, now Ryan will go. Leadership. Leadership is tough. You know why leadership is tough? Because you got to make the hard decisions sometimes. You have to be the one that says no. Or you have to be the one that gives something up. It's real easy to go through life and not want to give anything up. Right? You all gave something up by being here, I'm assuming. Right? You gave up a week of your life. Right? You gave up other things. You might have given up football. You may have given up a hot date with somebody. I don't know. But you could have given something up. Right? A vacation, maybe. But to have leadership means that you're giving things up because you want to do something better. You want to provide something for someone else. And that leadership will build your character. But also know as you're doing that, you have to learn how to relate to other people, how to build relationships with other people, how to be aware of the surroundings around you. Leadership isn't what you will it. Leadership is what defines you and how you move forward. But you can only do that if you're willing to put down yourself and look at how you can help others. And a lot of times, being the leader means you're the one that's taking all the arrows for the betterment of the others. And so I thank you all for being here this week. Thank you all for doing this. This is a thing that you'll remember for the rest of your life, and hopefully you'll build relationships with one another that will go on into the future. It's great to have you. Thank you.
I am the state representative for Putnam County, and the speaker and I actually got elected the same day back in November of 2010 together. Been serving together ever since, and ever since then, I have the unfortunate pleasure of always going behind him after he speaks. So I apologize. I did want to take a moment before I start and recognize somebody that I see in the room back here. Used to sit in his car and watch his grandkids play in our neighborhood, and Boys State would not have existed as long as it has without him. Judge John Maddox is right back there. Youngest granddaughter that lives here in Cookeville this year just turned 21, Emma Grace Robertson. She plays sand volleyball at the University of Texas. She celebrated a big birthday this week. And she gets all of her athletic ability from Mimi, which is also back here as well, Lynn Maddox. So, a little bit about me, as was said earlier, I was born and raised in Upper East Tennessee. People say, what is the difference in East Tennessee and Upper East Tennessee? Upper East Tennessee, if you don't get off of Interstate 81, you're not really in Upper East Tennessee. Knoxville is East Tennessee, Upper East Tennessee is Interstate 81. Went to a small rural high school there. Never thought about serving an elected role. I don't even remember going to a voting booth with my parents when I was a kid. So that tells you a little bit about my family upbringing. I was the first to go to college in my entire family. I was enabled to go to college because of a soccer scholarship that I got because my family couldn't afford to go. And so soccer was a very important part of who I am and how I was raised and how I learned how to relate to people. As a college athlete, I tell people all the time, if you can put, much like this room, if you can put people from many different nations, many different cultures and backgrounds, put them all on the same team, you kind of got to find a way in order to win together. And a lot of that has to do with what the speaker said about leadership earlier. It's making the difficult decisions and always putting somebody else's needs ahead of your own. And that's difficult to do, particularly in a world where we live, where we want instant gratification. So everybody that brought their cell phone today, if you will, raise them, and let me see. Leadership is learning how to take this thing and throw it in the trash for at least a week every year. I would tell you the worst problem with mental health among your age generation, and really anybody 35 and below, is the addiction associated with these phones and being able to see what is an unrealistic view of everyone around you. It is not reality. It is your own reality TV show, like a choose your own adventure novel that I had as a kid, except none of it's reality. There, maybe 5% of it is, but no one goes on there and said, I'm struggling with my mental health, I had a suck day today. You take a picture of something and you want people to like it and get instant gratification for it. I would say being a leader is setting that phone aside and investing in people that are in front of you. That's leadership. And so as we go forward, I learned this actually on the soccer pitch. I don't really talk a whole lot about my college experience as it relates to soccer, but I will say, for 3 years, I hold the record of the most shots on goal without scoring many goals. And you can go back and look, you shouldn't, but you can. My sophomore year, I shot 52 times, hit the post 17 times, and scored 2 goals. And so, I tell you all that to say that by my senior year, I gave up. I thought, I'm just here, I'm getting my degree. But then I realized, you know what? Maybe I need to quit focusing so much on myself and invest in my teammates. So I went to my teammates and I said, hey, how can I make you more successful? How can I what are your goals? As the team captain, I said, what are your goals for this season? And I sat down with every individual player, 27 players plus myself on this team, and asked them, what is important to you? And I made their goals my goals. Here's what's crazy about that. That's that one season, playing soccer in college, I still hold all the scoring records at Carson Newman because I scored more goals that year than I'd done in all 3 years previously combined in anyone's total career. And you do that because you invest in others. The adage that says, no, there's no me in team, and the fact that the speaker said that you're going to see everyone else in this room, you represent half of 1% of everyone in your class is in this room today. You are the leaders. What you have to do is lead and make difficult decisions on a daily basis that are not going to be popular, and make sure that your fellow man gets what they need out of life. And in service, the Bible says no greater love than someone to have that would lay his life down for his friends. You lay your life down for your friends when you find out what's important to them and help them meet their goals. You don't have to give your life, but you can sacrifice what's important to you for others. And when you do that, the reward, much like on the pitch, the reward in your life will be far greater than anything you could ask or imagine. I will say, leadership also, I met with a guy this morning. He, quite frankly, he did something really stupid when he was 18. He sent a text message, so this is your warning. He sent a text message to a girl who was underage. She sent him a text message back. He sent one back. A parent found him. He was prosecuted by the district attorney. Now he's on a sex offender registry list. He has been there for 18 years, married to 5 kids, and can't go to his kids' ball games. And he's devastated. But what I told him today is that the greatest gift that any person could have, and the one that I pray for my kids, is not wisdom, it's not money, it's discernment. Who knows what discernment is? Right? Discernment is understanding the circumstances around you and knowing and feeling in your heart whether it's the right thing to do or not. Discernment is the greatest gift that the speaker and I or any elected official can have, because he sees thousands of people every year. I see hundreds of people every year. And immediately when somebody walks into my office, I can say, do I discern good or bad in this person? And it's a huge gift. It's one you should ask for. You should pray for. It's very important to do that. And leaders, every leader in every field I've ever met has this ability to discern people. Extremely, extremely important. As the speaker said earlier, he made it his personal goal to improve early education literature many years ago. And the byproduct of that has been an improvement. We're looking forward to the results that we get this year. We're constantly improving third grade retention, reading, and proficiency. It is abysmal. It really is. And you should thank your mom and dad when you go home for reading to you every night when you were little, because it makes a huge difference in outcomes going forward. But education has been really important to the speaker and to the Tennessee General Assembly over the past several years. But one of the things I wanted to talk about are, none of you can vote now in the room, right? Anybody registered to vote? Yeah, you got a few. So your first time you're going to get to vote in a gubernatorial election will be in 2028. What's interesting about constitutional amendments, and you'll learn about this in civics class. If you don't, I'll tell you real quick. You have to pass a Senate and House joint resolution in 2 separate General Assemblies, so the 114th and the 113th, in order for it to be on the ballot in the next gubernatorial election. And the next election, you're going to have 3 of these. Very unusual. We try to limit the number because the more you have on there, it's very difficult for people to be educated about these constitutional amendments. But the Tennessee General Assembly has recognized 3 of those amendments. I'm going to briefly tell you what they are today, because as you go to the polls for the first time, you'll get to vote to change the Constitution, which rarely happens. And so it's really important to do it. The first one is a constitutional ban on a state property tax. Right now, local, county, and city governments are able to issue property taxes on property so that they can generate revenue to pay for schools and roads and bridges and all the different services, EMS, all the different services that they do. But there are other states in the United States that have state property tax. We have to pay property taxes to the state of Tennessee or to other states. This constitutional amendment would ban the state's ability to ever have a state property tax. And so that's one of the constitutional amendments. The second constitutional amendment is one called Marsy's Law. It's named after a young lady who was murdered in California, I believe it was. And as we all know, California is the leader in the wrong direction as it relates to crime. This person who murdered their daughter, the example we gave earlier, literally was able to see that family within 3 years because he was already out of prison. And so what happened is with Marsy's Law, currently victims' rights are less than the rights of those who perpetrate crimes. Marsy's Law would allow us to codify in the Constitution's rights to privacy, to know what happens as it relates to these offenders when they're getting out, and communicating with victims' families about the process. And so Marsy's Law is the second one. The final one, let me say, first of all, the final one is really important as it relates to what the speaker was talking about, violent crimes. We do have a violent crime problem in this state, particularly in the western part of our state, which is egregious. And so, but I will say, only 2 times in the time he served as speaker, which is now 6 years. Yeah, 6 years. Only 2 times in my service with the speaker has he ever entered the well and advocated for passage of legislation. One of those 2 times is this third constitutional amendment. Very important. The speaker is led on truth in sentencing. He's led in funding corrections, making sure that we can put people behind bars for the crimes that they commit. But this one is really important in that what it does, it gives a judge the ability to deny bail for certain heinous crimes. Like if you commit a sexual act on a child, current law does not give the judge the ability to deny bail. So that person can make bail and be out on the street to perpetrate other crimes prior to the conviction. What this would do, this constitutional amendment, led by the speaker, would allow judges under 9, I think it's 7 or 9, I know it's not over, 7 or 9 other egregious, heinous crimes for a judge like Judge Maddox to say, no, I'm going to deny bail for this case so that that person is held in prison until their crime is adjudicated in the courts, which is really important. So those are the 3 constitutional amendments. You're going to see them on your first ballot, which I think is really important. I do want to make sure that we save time. We are going to take questions for y'all for a little bit, so if you are catnapping a little bit and want to ask questions, Colonel Reed is going to manage those questions. We're going to try to take as many as we can. But I will say a couple of things that are really important that we did this year. 3 years ago, Tennessee General Assembly decided that we wanted to allow farmers to grow hemp so that they could create hemp-derived products. Hemp-derived products at the time, the legislature felt like were rope, car parts, and things like that. What we ended up finding is if you went to downtown Nashville, you smell weed everywhere. Well, marijuana is illegal in Tennessee. And so what ended up happening was they figured out a way to take hemp derivatives and whenever you burn them, it becomes marijuana. And so marijuana, for lack of better terms, was legal in Tennessee for 2.5 years. This year, the legislature went back and fixed that statute and banned THCA, which is the natural form of hemp. But when you burn THCA, the A falls off and it just THC. We dealt with that this year. To give you an idea how bad the problem got, there were the equivalent of 89 million marijuana cigarettes sold in Tennessee last year in the form of hemp flower that had THCA in it. And it was not the intent of the legislature for that to happen. So we did change that. We did spend more money this year on roads, about $1 billion, $80 million in new roads. We spent $3 million in roads last year. But interesting things that we did have a discussion about that you're going to hear more about, I think, surround the idea. I carried a bill this year that died in committee regarding in vitro fertilization. This is a topic that is, or a subject matter that has grown unregulated since 1972. And so, because there's no regulation on it, there's been lots of problems. The Attorney General had to come in and act. So we're hoping to make those changes in the coming years to make it more predictable and safe for families. I will close by saying, once again, you are, whether you like it or not, whether you feel like you're able or not, you are the leaders in your community and in your school. Your very presence today is a testament to that. You can be everything you want to be in America. You have to choose to lead and to do it with humility. And I hope you'll do that. And so with that, I want to turn it back over to Colonel Reed.
Let's start from the top. So anybody up top? 5 from up top, come down this way. 5 from up top, come down this way. And then after these 5 have asked questions, we'll take 5 from down here. You gotta be quick. We got about 15 minutes. Speak your name, tell them where you're from, and your questions. Speak loudly because you do not have a microphone. Good?
The question was, I will say, part of being a legislator is being passionate. His question was, and so I kind of get choked up on this subject matter all the time. He asked why your faith matters in what you do as a state representative. The fact for me is that my faith is literally the driving force behind why I even serve in the legislature. As a kid, growing up in Upper East Tennessee, back when mullets weren't cool, I had them. It was an amazing thing. And when I went off to college, my parents got separated. I was struggling in school. It was terrible. And even though I grew up in the church, I never really understood how the impact of my faith would be until I found myself alone in my dorm room with no family to call or no one. And the only person that was there for me was the Lord. And in that quiet place is where I began to develop my faith and build a relationship with Christ, which is the moral compass for the reason why I make the votes I do, which makes it completely different than everyone else. But I would say, when you argue with your wife, or your kids disappoint you, or your colleagues disappoint you, which they do quite often, it's your faith, really, that you come back to. It's the guiding principle behind who you are. And without it, I'd be lost.
Yeah, look, look, what I would tell you is, look, we're all human, we're all sinners, right? You're going to disappoint people, and people are going to disappoint you, but the one person who's never going to disappoint you, who's never going to do anything, but is always there for you regardless of the situation, whether you're good, bad, or indifferent, is God. You want to get through life?
Hello, my name is Sadler Lumpkin. I'm from Tullahoma, Tennessee.
state. My question was, what made you want to be a state representative?
Yeah, it's a great question. We all have different things, and so I'll be real brief. So, look, if you ever come down I-40 or you ever come through Cumberland County and have a little bit of Putnam County, you'll see on all my campaign literature, it'll say people before politics. That's what it says, people before politics. It means different things to different people, but what it means to me is I ran against an incumbent Republican, and it felt like that he was putting politics over people. Meaning he was trying to do things for political reasons, but not putting the people first, putting elected officials first, putting the business community first, putting others first. They came to him and said, we don't understand why you want to do this. We think we should do this. And he said, if you don't want to go with me, I'm going to try to defeat you in an election. I got in the race because the person I felt like was trying to put politics first. And at the end of the day, you should put the people you represent first. Politics can be second, third, or fourth, whatever, but the people you represent should always be first. That's why I got in the race.
Everyone is different. Mine's a little bit different. It started from a place of anger, to be brutally honest with you. I got upset about what was going on in DC, and my wife looked at me one day and she said, well, you need to pray about this, because if you don't like what's going on, why not you? And so that's how I got involved in politics. I had never had a desire to do that. Ran for office here in the city. Never thought I'd win, and then Cameron, Speaker nominee, served together for 15 years. So I tell people a lot, being an elected official is a lot like being a pastor. You feel called to it, but people expect you to do really bad things instead of good things.
Hello, my name is Alexander. I'm from Tullahoma, Tennessee, and I'm representing Watson over there. My question is, so I'm from California originally, and I understand that a bit ago a new district attorney was appointed, and I was wondering if you feel that would improve the crime there, and if so, what other things can they do there to help improve that?
Which city you talking about? The DA? Memphis or?
Like up in Los Angeles.
Oh, in Los Angeles? Look, you are the people you elect. Pure and simple. Why do you go vote? Because that's how you have your voice. And do not think that local elections mean less than federal elections. But when you look at the number of people vote, what election do they vote for the most? President. How much impact does the president have on your everyday life? How much does the mayor, the DA, and the sheriff have on your everyday life? Don't take for granted that those races are not more important than the president. That doesn't mean you don't vote for the president. It means you've got to make sure you vote locally as well, and state, and then federal. Their issues are derived from the people that are voting for those people who are in office. You get what they campaign for. Your job is not to look at social media. Your job is not to look at the candidate and say, well, this is what they say, so I believe them. It's to challenge what they say and make sure what they're saying is what they will do, have done, or are going to do. Because a lot of times campaigns are running on things that I'm going to get your vote, but I may not have any desire to meet those demands. And so at the end of the day, make sure you go vote locally as a body to make sure, but also make sure who you're voting on. Their situation is the people they vote for, that's what they have, and they're in a tough spot. And now you see everybody from California moving to Tennessee, Florida, and Texas.
Hello, my name is Will Howell. I'm from Knoxville, and I'm representing LaHare City. And you guys both gave great speeches about leadership, and I was wondering if you could tell me about a really hard but maybe formative experience that really helped you solidify your skills as a leader, helped you learn what it means to be a leader.
Well, thank you for the question. I think, as I said in my discussion previously, I think in order to be a leader, you have to put everyone else's needs ahead of your own. The irony of it is when you do that, of course, the legislature, when you're an elected official, being in leadership is considered extremely important. To give you an idea, the speaker led by example long before he was the speaker. And so you have to do the things and do the work behind the scenes that no one sees. If you're doing the work because you want to run straight to the Facebook Live or to the press, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. I think for me, it is trying to figure out how can I best serve my community, but also do it in a way that makes sure that everyone else can.
Yeah, we're looking briefly. Look, how many of y'all ever admitted that you're wrong to your parents? That's the fair number. All right. For me, a leadership thing thing is, so when Governor Adams was governor, before Governor Lee, I was against school choice. I didn't believe in school choice. I didn't think we needed school choice in the state. A couple of years into Governor Lee's term and some other things, all of a sudden I started saying, no, we do need school choice. I was wrong in that initial thing. So you have to admit the times when you are wrong. That's a leader, because people will look at you and say it's okay for you to admit your faults and things, and then your opinion can change. And so that's one example of many. But the thing is, watch other people, how they operate, and learn from them. We've had speakers who were really loosey-goosey, and you kind of saw everything run into chaos, and you had some that tried to put a stranglehold on everybody, and that kind of blew up too. So watch as you're trying to develop your skills and see what you like, what you don't like, and learn from others, and then you'll have your own experiences as well.
I'm Owen Taylor. I represent Watson City, and my real county is Johnson County. And my question was related to the speaker's topic of education and crime is how would Tennessee help create education and help prevent community criminals instead of just how to just punish?
That's a great question. Yeah, so thank you. Look, what you do know is all the stats. If you do not graduate high school, we know where you're going to end up. You're going to end up in prison. The majority of the individuals. That's just a fact. If you don't know how to read and write, you're going to end up in prison more than likely because you're not going to be able to get a job and you're going to have to figure out how to have income. So improving our education system in our state is the best way to decrease crime. It's also the best way for you to have an opportunity to be successful. But it needs to be done to meet your individual needs. Your needs in the classroom may be different than these needs, and we have to give the teachers the flexibility and the ability to do that. But if you look at most career criminals that get in life into drugs and some other, it's a lack of education. COVID was horrendous for us. You want to look at the crime problem we have today is because of COVID. We shut down schools in some of our parts of our state. Those kids never came back. For all y'all in Shelby County, I apologize for mentioning this, but Memphis City Schools' truancy rate is higher than the graduation rate. There are more people truant in Shelby County than anywhere else in our state. There are more people in gangs. There's 130 gangs now in Shelby County, just in Shelby County, that are going after the young individuals who should be in school but they're not. So we need to do more to make sure they stay in school, that have the capability to be successful. A better education system gets us there. We have a lot of great opportunities in the state. But we also need to realize the other thing. We talk about being hard on criminals, right, when you get to violent. But we also need to give you forgiveness, too, on those other crimes. You don't ever start off as a murderer. You don't start off as a carjacker. Usually it starts off as theft or something else. And we need to have the things in place that will help you turn your life around so you don't go back in. But there is a level, once you cross, you don't go back. So there's a lot of things to tie into that point, but it really does start with the quality education and making sure that you have the opportunity to be successful because of your education.
Hello, I'm Jackson Shinaki from Chattanooga, representing Levi City over there. There has been an increase in overdose rates in my school, and I have had multiple classmates that have OD'd in the classroom. And I was wondering what the plan is to combat that.
Well, let me say, when a child's overdosing in a high school, there's a problem going on at home. But we have to recognize that. I think the very fact that most of our communities don't have two parents in the household makes a huge impact on what's going on in our families across the state. It's just presenting itself in the school as it relates to what's going on there. The legislature passed several years ago. It used to be that we would pass a bill and say, hey, we're going to provide epinephrine shots, or we're going to provide insulin, opportunities for insulin to be at schools, or AEDs in case somebody were to have a cardiac event. But now we had to, because this has become so prevalent, we've had to allow for Narcan to be put into school nursing areas. And so the big challenge is that understanding and knowing. I think part of being a difficult leader is also recognizing the fact that your classmate may be struggling with an addiction problem also. And, we've heard for years, see something, say something. I think in a lot of cases, some people, it's a cry for help. It's our job as believers to reach out to people who are in need long before it gets to be a problem. That is because the irony of it is, when I see this most among young people,
it's never a surprise to people that are in their families, or in their classmates, those that are closest to them. It wasn't a surprise. And it's our responsibility as good citizens to make sure that we care for those who need help and give them the help that they need.
I mean, real quick, look, fentanyl's in a lot of different drugs, so you have to be very careful. I'm not gonna ask you to raise your hands. But for those of you in this room, I'm sure there's individuals in this room, just because of the number of people, you've tried drugs to a certain level, whether it's hemp or something else. My question is, why? Why would you do that? A lot of times it's because it's cool, I want to fit in, I want to do this, or I'm depressed, or I need this, or I need that. No, you do not need any of that stuff at all. You do not need it. When we talk about leadership, leadership is being the one in the group when they're trying to pass around that joint or something else to say, no, I'm not doing it. Because you know what? That may impact 3 other people not to do it. That's the impact you can have to be a leader. And if you know that's going on in your school, be a leader and push back on it. But there's no reason to do that. But one of the things I will say, and this is controversial, but I'm going to say it, is if you go back and you look at when we took the Bible and God out of the school systems, we started having problems. It doesn't end all by having that in the school system. But when the school does not have the capability of having you turn to someone in faith, because we have a supposedly separation of church and state, which we can debate that all day long. Why are more people going to private school? It doesn't solve a lot of issues, but we have to have people who are grounded in K-12 education. And putting God back in schools is the first step, I think, of turning the schools back around and creating a system where you can handle all the pressures of today.
Gentlemen, we have time for one more question to be respectful of their time, so you got the last question for us.
My name is Daniel Reese. I'm from Newport, Tennessee. Just a question I had for both of you was, if you could go back to your 17-year-old self, what would be some advice you'd give yourself?
Man. How about that? For me, really, the most important thing is I pray for this for my kids, and you're gonna know this when you get older. But the most important person you're ever gonna meet in your life is your college roommate. For me, I can look back at my friends. I can look back at my kids. I've got one at Belmont now. I got one that graduated from ETSU last year. I will say that that person, short of parent, coach, or sibling, that person is probably the most important. For me, I would have spent more time praying about it and asking the Lord to send me the right person, because I didn't. I lost 3 years of my life because I had the wrong person. I'm happy to say that both my kids had phenomenal roommates, but I did that because I didn't have that myself. And it sent me down a road that I regretted. The Lord's redeemed it all, which is great. But I think my advice to my 17-year-old self would be dig in and find the right roommate, pray about it, ask the Lord to show it to you, make it abundantly clear.
I mean, look, I say this all the time to students. Whether you're raised by your parents, grandparents, aunt or uncle, or all the above, you need to realize what they're doing is out of love. And so it can be the most challenging thing, and you don't understand it, you don't know why they're acting that way, and why they're doing all this to you, you just think they're being too harsh. They're doing it to build you, to protect you, so when you leave, you have the skill set to be successful. Not saying that you can never turn back and go back to them and ask more questions and do more stuff. But realize that your parents are right more than they are wrong. That's the first thing. At 17, I can tell you, 17-year-old, I didn't think my parents were right. Curfew, I was earlier than everybody else, I was this, I was that. It felt like they were too tough. Right? But when you look back, when you get to be in college or after college, you realize, you know what, there's a lot of wisdom that they imparted on me that has protected me. Right? So that's the first thing I think I would say. Look, the other thing is you all have examples every single day or every month or a couple times a year where you're like, man, I didn't show leadership there. I wish I'd been a better leader at 17 years old to some of the people around me. Maybe they wouldn't have gotten fallen in. But it's real easy in my world. Look, when I was 17, guess what we didn't have when I was 17, right? We didn't have these. We didn't have them. So it was a different world, at least for me. But I could have been a better leader for those around me. I played basketball and did some other stuff, but I was just happy-go-lucky. I could have been a better leader. That's the second thing I wish I could have done. The third thing is, look, right here on the voice stage, it's hard to see, but we can see it right here. It says, don't quit. Right? We spend a lot of time talking about leadership, talking about mental health, talking about faith, talking about this. In today's world, it's really easy to quit. And I have an 11-year-old daughter, I have a 25-year-old son, and a 22-year-old daughter. It doesn't look like I'm that old, but I am. But I was talking to my 11-year-old daughter about what a landline was. Blew her mind to any regard. And the question was, if you're outside, how do you answer your phone? It's like, you don't, right? You don't. The best advice I can give you, and Ryan mentioned it earlier, when you go home, you want to see your parents change, or your aunts change, your grandparents change, everybody here hold up the phone. Spend one whole day and leave it in your room and go downstairs and just talk to your parents and go hang out with them. You will find things out that you never knew about your parents. They feel this. I found out that my dad liked the Doors growing up. I never had that idea. Jim Morrison fan. Who knew? But you can only do that if you're not doing this as you're talking to them. Find out who they are. You'll learn a lot. But you gotta put this thing away. But at the end of the day, don't quit on your family, don't quit on your parents, don't quit on your friends, don't quit on your team. But more importantly, do not quit on yourself. There is nothing that is going to be put before you that you cannot handle. Not a single thing. So never give up on yourself. You have the skills, you have the ability, you have the network, you have the friends, you have the family, you have the relationships, you have people that will be there for you so you do not quit. So the best thing that you can do for yourself, put away your phones, talk to your parents, and do not quit when time gets tough. Just realize it makes you stronger, learn from it, and build on. Thank y'all.
Hey, my son's in here, and I guarantee he knows who my favorite band is. Yell it out. Oh yeah, baby, jump! Yeah. So I've got something, but I want to put this out there real quick. Andy, Ben, and Jake Mowry. Andy, Ben, and Jake Mowry. I want you to come right up here, right after this is over with. But I want to thank our speakers today for taking time out of their busy schedules. I know they're busy because I see them all over the state. Keep up with what they're doing for us, and but I want to thank them for coming here. They are going to walk over to the CAF with us. They're going to be in the dining hall. So if y'all have any questions for them, just make sure you see them. Make sure you talk to them over there. They'll be around. No, it's going to be crowded, so be aware. You heard that? Be aware of your surroundings. What I've got here is something that all true professionals need to carry in their pocket, and that's a case knife. So, speaker section, I got a case knife from the Wisdom logo, and the American Legion.
So is he calling the woman from yesterday not a true professional? So I
Powerful stuff. So don't sit there and miss this stuff, man. I'm telling you. Every time we get a speaker in front of you, they're telling you some of the same things we're telling you. Suck in, and we're not telling them what to say. Y'all understand what I'm telling you?
Yes, sir.
When you see common threads like that, you gotta pay attention. These guys are awesome. And I appreciate y'all being willing to share your faith and not backing down from it. I better stop because I'm a preacher. Stop preaching. We should have our implicator from Clinton. Come on up. You know the drill. Let's see if he gets it right, guys.
Hi, my name is Marshall Woodall. I'm from Lexington, Tennessee, and today I represent the self-appointed best city, Hensley City. Please let me pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather this week. Thank you for the friendships we make that will last a lifetime. Thank you for this meal that we are about to eat. Thank you for the American Legion as well as the staff members, for without them, this entire program wouldn't be possible. But most importantly, thank you for sending your son to die for us. Without him, nothing would be possible. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Longer than yesterday's.